Hey guys, before we get started talking about the brain, you know what to do. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Launchpad Pod. Watch us on YouTube. We love hearing from our listeners. Big shout out to Ryan Dempsey, who he listened to our Violent Night and gave us some recommendations that I checked out. Checked out Wolf Cop. Matt and I are going to have to do an episode on that later. Not tonight, though. Tonight we got a special shitty movie.
It's nice. I like when because we're never don't know what to talk about, right? We're never what are we going to do? But it's kind of fun when you're like, all right, we have to do this. We have to bring so-and-so on and talk about that. I like when we have things in the pike because it feels like, I don't know, it gets exciting, right? It gets exciting to talk. It's I bet you there's 2 or 3 things a week of substance that I'm like, ooh, I got to see if Erin has read this. I got to see if Erin has watched this. I got to see what I want your reaction to my reaction of something, Yeah. And it's kind of, I think that's why we're roomies for life, because some of that is not even podcast related. It's just I got to see if you've seen the new Sideshow, blah, 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 blah. And it doesn't matter for the on air. It's just, I want your opinion on that,
Did you see that new gay Batman thing?
I did actually. My roommate for life showed it to me.
Somebody sent me this thing, and it's Rainbow Studios, and they do literally. This isn't. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. They literally make gay statues of Batman and Superman and super ripped abs in their underwear with guns and stuff. And I was like, this is awesome.
Add to cart.
My Christmas shopping's done. I mean, it's already done. It's great. You get a gay Batman and you get a gay Batman. It's fucking awesome. What can I say? Come on. It was funny. So today we're talking about a shitty movie. It's going to be great. Like I said, all that social media stuff. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends about us. But enough talking. Let's get on with the show.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
All right. Welcome to Launchpad Podcast. I'm Aaron.
I'm Matt.
And Matt, you were like, yo, have you seen this movie, The Brain? And I immediately knew what you were talking about. It was one of those movies. I don't know if we mentioned this in our entire episode about VHS covers that you will never forget, but this is one of them.
Yeah. It's a lesser known one.
For sure. But we're talking about The Brain, 1988. And the cover is this cute little gremlin brain face on the cover, and
it's like a brain, purple, gray, black brain with a monster face on there. It looks like a great Costco Halloween decoration, right?
Big time.
It doesn't even really look like a brain. It looks more like a lumpy volleyball with a face on it. Yeah.
On the cover, it does not look a brain. Objectively, I think he's cute. He's got big eyes and his cute little nose and his little teeth. He's he looks like a mad ball. Right. And
if you go over to Rainbow Studios, they have a gay brain statue you can get. How about that duodenum?
Spinal cord is a little accentuated, but hey, it's not here for realism. This movie's ridiculous, dude. You were like, hey, you got to check it out. And I did. The only star of note in this movie, well, I guess there's 2, but the only star of note is David Gale, who the last time we saw him, his decapitated head was sexually harassing Barbara Crampton from the Reanimator films. He is in this movie as another bad guy. The only other thing I recognized in this movie, didn't recognize his face, but his voice was so comforting and seemed so intelligent to me. And suddenly I realized, why do I know this guy? Why do I know this guy? Turns out George Buza, who played the head orderly of this psychology hospital.
The guy who looks like a biker, a biker gang guy.
Big fuzzy mustache, big fuzzy
mustache.
Beard. Yeah. He's the voice of Beast in the X-Men cartoon from the 90s that you cannot
Is that true?
Forget. Yep. And you cannot forget.
You heard that and knew?
I heard it, and it sounded so familiar to me because of something he said. I had to look it up. And it was like, oh, there it is. And then you can't talk about that cartoon without being like, Dun, 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 dun.
And my favorite part of this is anybody who listens to the review we're about to give and doesn't have an interest in the movie The Brain, you should watch it. It's a lot of fun. But even if this is one of those things that you listen to and you're like, they didn't sell me on it, I'm not going to watch it. At least look up this guy's picture, because this is not the guy. This is not the face of the beast that you would think. This educated, hanging upside down, wearing glasses, reading a book motherfucker. You don't think it's voiced by this frickin', Hell's Angels reject, redneck looking guy who in the movie are also like, I don't think I'd go to a hospital where he was working. Well,
you can also see him in the original X-Men movie from 2000. He plays Random Trucker number 1.
There you go. Is the word random in his actual title?
Yeah, it just says, it just says trucker, but
you added random. The random. I was like, did Fox really call him that?
Random Trucker number 1. It's like that tracks. So yeah, this movie starts out pretty strong. Immediately during the opening credits, music slaps. I was like, fuck yeah, it's got a fucking jet. The rest of the movie, the music does not slap. But this opening, I don't even know if there is music. There's kind of some tension building strings, but this is got a fucking bass line. It's like down, 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 and you're like, cool, okay, all right, movie. And it starts out with we're introduced to this television show called Independent Thinking. Rumi, what is this show about? The TV show within the show.
Gale, you said, whatever his name is, Gale, the doctor from Reanimator who loses his head and just walks around with a pan. He's trying to self-improve people, right? And self-improve them by it looks like a late night talk show where he essentially is like an evangelist, but he's not preaching about any specific cause.
I was like, is he like a Dr. Phil, a Dr. Oz? Either way, he's a crank, just like all the TV doctors are. And but we don't know. We never see the show. We literally just see him go, wow, what a great audience. Wow. And then it cuts to people watching the show being like, I love this show. And you're like, but what is it? We never find out. We never see a segment of the show. It's just him being like, great audience. Great.
But it is supposed to be an influential type of Dr. Oz show where he's walking, he seems to be on a stage and there seem to be people, live studio audience watching him.
Yeah.
And then there's these people watching at home who are getting sucked into his shit, right?
Yeah. He's getting sucked into, because what we don't know is he's got this pet brain, which we'll get into whatever the fuck this brain is, that is sending brainwaves through the television
to make people more susceptible.
Yes. For why?
Some aspects of this plot and script, they shot the breakdown. They were like, there's a plot. Okay. What's the end result? I don't know. Brainwaves.
Got a brain. Got brainwaves.
That's part of the plot. What's the end result?
We'll figure it out later. We'll figure it out in post. And it's like, wait, but what does the doctor want to do? Control people. To do what?
Yeah. No, that's a step. What does he want to do with the control?
This is literally the plot of a Pinky and the Brain cartoon. I will use television to Zoinks brain. What are we going to do tonight? And it's like, this is the plot. And they literally didn't know what to do once they got the control of the people. It's like, but what does he want to do? Get more people to watch him? That seems to be the plot. Because he's like, we're going to go nationwide. I'll have the control of everybody's eyes. Yeah, but they're not doing anything with it. They're just watching your show. That's okay. Anyway.
Maybe he just wants ratings.
This
merchandising. That's his final goal.
That's true. I mean, that's where you really get them. You're like, hey, buy my supplements. And they're like,
right.
Well, this lady's watching. She's like to her teenage daughter, you want to watch it with me? You want to watch Dr. Blakey with me? And she's like, no. And she looks terrified. And you're like, oh, something traumatic happening here. And she goes into a room, shuts the door, and her teddy bear's eyes start to bleed. The walls start closing in and tentacles start popping out of the walls and grabbing at her and choking her and shit. And I was like, damn, movie's starting out a little strong, pretty strong. Decent tentacle effects. Tentacles aren't always the best thing in movies. Like shitty floppy tentacles sometimes look stupid as shit. These weren't bad. The room shrinking was very effective.
I wish actually we saw more of that, because the first couple shots of it, you're like, are those walls moving? And then there's no frame of reference and there's no shot long enough where you can see it much. But then you do kind of see it. I wish they showed it more because it's fucking awesome. They built I built a set with moving walls. It was awesome. It looks cool.
It actually was very effective and smart, because a low budget film, you could just like zoom in on a wall and be like closing in and just, you didn't really need to do it that much. You oversold what we needed from this movie. And I appreciated that. So she's freaking out. At one point, she grabs scissors and it's like wrapped around her neck, and she starts stabbing the tentacles. And
stabbing her, like no.
I was, as somebody who works in television, you're like, no, cut, like, set minute, go to 2,
because she wasn't holding a rigid foam scissors that had because she actually stabs the tentacle and tentacle starts to bleed, doesn't it? In the shot.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So then she's screaming and her mom comes upstairs and she's like, what's wrong with you? And the hallucination stops and she's like, oh, I don't know. Then all of a sudden it starts up again. Tentacle comes through the wall, grabs her mom. The teenage girl has scissors, stab. And then she like looks and realizes she stabbed her mother. And you're like, oh shit. And then this giant brain comes out of the mirror with his cute little face and runs into her, and she flies out the window and falls to her death. And that's how this movie kicks off. And it's like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
And my first impression of this in this scene, this feels like a New Zealand horror movie, right? Like an 80s exploitive New Zealand horror movie with all the gore, all the puppets, all the exaggerated props and shit, tentacles and brains that most movies, I mean, unless it's a certain genre, right, shy away from. You're not really going to show your monster smashing through a mirror in literally the first sequence. And they do not shy away from this monster. And it's one of those things where, like, I guess they knew it didn't look great. It was not the Predator. It was not Alien, It was not anything from Star Wars or Willow. But, like, fuck it, man. This is 80s B horror movie drive-in type stuff. We're just going to have fun with it because everybody wants to see that. Me and Aaron are that audience. We are the demographic they were after. And you had me in that scene for sure.
I think this would be a great drive-in movie. This would be a really good drive-in movie. It's, again, not good, but like the monster stuff is fun enough that I will yell at the screen for you.
That's it. Like, I wouldn't say this is good, but it's fun. It's definitely like you could watch it by yourself and it would be fun. And you certainly could watch it with a group of people, like Shitty Movie Sunday style. That's the way to do it because you'd all be pissing yourself and making fun and stuff.
Yeah, my biggest problem with this movie is it makes one of the, like, a cardinal sin in just filmmaking in general. And we'll get to it just now. Okay. It cuts to a high school and it's like the cool dude shows up and we meet our main character, James. And I have here, this line says, wow, this kid sucks. He acts like everyone's just giving him such a hard time, but he just sucks. 4 lines later, fuck, James sucks, like really bad. Multiple times in here, I'm just like, a full scene of James sucking, a full scene of James, close your fucking mouth, you suck. Like, this guy, the whole movie, his mouth.
These are the notes open. You took for our professional sounding podcast.
Yes. This dude can't close his goddamn mouth. Like, not talking, he's just like, mouth open the whole movie, just agape. He's stoned the entire film. His eyes are glossed over in red. He's stoned the entire movie. He's not supposed to. You never see him smoke weed. He just, as an actor, was like, I'm not going to remember my lines or get through this scene if I can't toke a little tokety toke. And he smokes up before they call rolling, and he's high as shit the entire thing. He's a douche. And that's a cardinal sin. If you can't like your main characters, the movie falls apart. I hated this guy.
Well, at least some of that is on purpose because he's introduced as like this bad boy who could be going places and has potential. His parents don't know what to do with him. And the school is like, listen, we know he could get into any college he wants, but he's not going to because he's fucking throwing cherry bombs in the toilets and
not
being
just cherry bombs. He throws a chunk of pure like sodium into the toilet, which makes a big explosion. I had to go, but like, how big are we talking here? Is this like, is this like vinegar and baking soda? I looked it up. No, it is an explosion.
Aaron, it is big enough that the end of the movie has a title card warning not to do that. It specifically says this movie was made in fun. Don't do this thing that we did twice in this movie.
Yeah, I looked it up on
What
YouTube.
a weird thing to like, of all the violence and real world. I mean, I guess anyone could do that, but it's like, of all the things to say, don't try this at home. Okay.
But seriously, don't try this at home. I looked it up on YouTube where a guy threw probably a fist-sized chunk into a lake and it made a mushroom cloud. Like a massive explosion. It is a very volatile substance.
There is no one on this planet who hears that and does not want to try it. That is not a warning. You know what I mean? Like, to be like, hey, be careful. If you throw these two things together, it will make a mushroom cloud. You're not giving anyone a reason not to. You're only giving us reasons to try it, right?
Okay, just throw it really far away. Don't be anywhere near it when it goes off. It seems very volatile and super dangerous. Anyway,
next week on the Launchpad podcast.
How did Aaron only get 3 fingers? He throws a chunk of this sodium shit in the toilets and they blow up and water's everywhere. And like the principal has poop on him. And he's like,
he doesn't even really get caught doing it. He just gets blamed. And we know it was him and the principal or whoever was in the room when it happened. But there's no evidence. I don't understand. I mean,
he finds a package that literally says like sodium, don't put in water. And he's like,
but it doesn't say that fucking Rick did it. You know, it's like he could have been like, I didn't put that there.
Well, he says that. He's like, hey, it's a free country, isn't he? He's like, you think you're in America? You're not. You're in high school. And I was like,
yeah, that's right. That's a good shirt.
When adults say the dumbest fucking shit, you think you're in America? You're in high school. Where's my high school located? In America, idiot. Like, oh my God. So that cracked me up though. Dude looks high all the time. This guy sucks. He probably is high all the time.
Well, they have like a school meeting, and in the school meeting, it's like when you watch a movie and someone's a bully, and you're like, I understand that bullying happens and probably to that level sometimes, but like not every bully that ever bullied is a Stephen King level bully.
Yeah.
This guy is like Stephen King level bully, but like delinquent. He's like, yeah, where your mother? Because he's talking to the principal in front of his parents, like no kid ever would. At least no kid ever would.
And then the principal's like, I'm not going to let you graduate. You can't not do that. That's blackmail. And he goes, that's blackmail. And the principal goes, it isn't in any way, shape, or form. And I'm like, literally, that's blackmail. You don't know where your school's located. You don't know what country your school's in.
It's not America.
You don't know how blackmail works. But also, like, again, blackmail has a quid pro quo associated with it. Like, literally, this is just a punishment. You're not graduating for being
right.
You can't do that. Watch them. Nothing. Like, I'm so off this character at this point in the movie. I'm like, I hope the brain eats him next. Nope. We have to watch the entire movie with this fuck face.
Yeah, he's our lead, folks.
So
they say to graduate, right? You have to go to this doctor and get this radical treatment. That's the only way we're going to let you go and let you graduate.
Yeah, he's like, fine. And then we cut to like nighttime and he's in his Christine car making out with his girlfriend. And she's like, no, James, stop. I told you to stop. Again, this guy fucking sucks. And he's like, what? Come on, babe. I had a really hard day. Just help me relax.
I love that. I was like, I got in trouble today. I got sent to the principal's office. You should probably put out a little bit.
Yeah, everybody's crawling up my ass. Well, I wish you would too. And she's like, I told you I won't do it till I go to college. He's like, yeah, what if we go to different colleges? Then you'll just have to go to the same one as me. What? Like, I love this dialogue. Then like these kids pop up and they're like, they're friends. They're wearing like Halloween masks and it's like a jump scare. Little red herring. And we meet their best friend, Willie. And the girlfriend of Willie always insinuates like, yeah, Slick Willie's up to Slick Willie. He's like, man, is all you know how to do is play jokes? And she's like, that's not all Willie knows how to do. Then you look at Willie and you're like, this kid does not fuck.
For sure. And it's like one of those horror movie, 80s horror movie relationships where you're like, there's no reason that girl would be with that guy. I'm not believing this for a second. Although then again, I look at every girl that's ever dated me and I'm like, well, I guess I was that guy in that relationship, right? Like, there's definitely varying degrees of hotness and A+ girlfriends in certain situations, but there's certain girls who are like, well,
I am literally thinking of all the movies that you were not the star of, that you were actually like a side character in, and people were like, no way that guy fucks. No way.
That's how terrible. Like, I was literally just thinking the other day about when I was a kid and I realized that you are the star of your own movie. Like, in my mind, I phrased it as a video game. Like, you're the main character in your video game, right? And I understood, like, every person in the entire world pretty much thinks that. Everyone thinks that they are the narrative that they are following, right? But how terrible to think that you're actually the Shelley, right?
Yeah, you're
that
the
was
Willy.
his name, right? In Friday 3?
Fuck yeah, it was Shelley.
Because like
loser.
some people are the Shelley. I don't think it's me, and I don't think it's you. Hey guys, if you think you're the Shelley of your life, of your friend group, reach out. Like, think about it for a second, because it's not too late to become one of those other characters that nobody remembers their names.
It's not too late to never be in a movie again and learn to be a lawyer and get really successful, because that's what Shelley did.
Or upgrade or / lateral move to be the crippled guy who falls down the stairs. Yeah, let us know if you're a Shelley. That would be interesting.
I've literally been around people who are acting like it's their movie, and you're like, I'll just roll with this. Let's see what happens. And like, they're just constantly into sidekick shenanigans, and you're just like, all right. And they act like they're the star of the show, and you're just like, you roll with that, pal. Go for it. That's good for you. And to me, they're like that guy from Big Trouble in Little China. The Big Trouble in Little China. Who's the main star of that? It's Kurt Russell, but
Kurt Russell.
Yeah, he's the sidekick. He doesn't know it. He's the star of the movie,
yeah, right.
But in reality, he's the sidekick. So fucking funny. Yeah, so we meet Willie. Poor Willie never gets a close up, and you can never hear his lines perfectly because they're all 80 yard off to the side.
To the
Poor
point
Willie.
where when he gets killed later, you're like, who is that guy?
Yeah. Wait, was he in the basement this whole time?
Because they feel bad, and you're like, did you know that guy? Oh, that was him?
Nobody feels bad because nobody responds to death in this movie appropriately at all without just staring slack-jawed like, are you done? Okay, well, I guess that happened. Moving on.
Carry on.
So dumb. Anyway, this kid, I don't know, just the cops are up his ass, his parents are up his ass, the principal's up his ass, girlfriend won't put out. So he goes to this fucking
Institute,
which is the Xerox Copy Research Center in Canada. Cool building. It really does look futuristic. I thought it was a miniature at first. I really did. Yeah. Because I
honestly did wonder. I knew it was real, but I wondered how much they propped it up and how much they, art decked it out.
And he goes in there and the treatment, they're like, okay, we're going to hook you up to these electrodes. Beep, 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 beep. We can see in the other room, the brain is hooked up to electrodes, the giant brain. And the brain's watching TV, he's watching TV, and the doctor comes and he starts asking him questions. He's like, he sees the sexy assistant on the monitor. He's like, what is she holding? She's holding an apple, man. No, she's holding a baseball. She's not holding a baseball. She's holding an apple. Suddenly it turns into a baseball, and he's like, whoa, my eyes. And he like rubs his high ass eyes, his little bloodshot fucking stoner eyes. And he's like, oh, I must have just been a hallucination. And she is holding an apple, but I thought it was a baseball. Then her top flies off. And he's like, my kind of treatment.
Yeah, he's just still being just a dick.
Just okay. So we get some unnecessary nudity and a hallucination, but like they're trying to show that he's rejecting the like mental suggestion of the brain, which the brain doesn't like. And so it's like making him hallucinate. And the doctor gets pissed. He's like, that's enough. Get the fuck out. He's like mad at him. And the kid starts driving home in his Christine car and it starts like acting all crazy. And a tentacle comes out and starts like fucking with him. I'm like, this is what you get for driving a Christine car, dude. You should know better. Obviously has not read any Stephen King in high school. This is what happens. You drive a Cadillac, a red Cadillac from the 50s like that. It's going to start fucking with you. Just that's what happens, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've never seen it not.
Exactly.
I've never driven in any 50s. Was it Caddy?
Yeah.
I've never driven in any 50s Christine looking cars with the tail fins without being strangled by a tentacle or, murdering people and chasing fat bullies down alleyways and crunching the sides.
Right. So he flips his car, flips it the fuck over, gets all fucked up because of this hallucination. Cut back to the lab. And the sexy doctor is like, what does she say? There's been 8 deaths. And he's like, that's not scientifically provable. What experiments have you been doing? What tests have you done? Because I think it'd be pretty quick to be like, oh yeah, actually the brain is totally killing people. Like, what the fuck? How many deaths do you...
He should have said that's not legally provable, because scientifically, like, yeah, motherfucker, that guy is dead and he was involved in your experiments until he did. Like, he was alive, experiment, dead.
That's like the equivalent
Times
of...
8.
Because the brain can communicate with them. All he had to do was like, brain, did you kill those kids? And he'd be like, oh, most definitely. But he doesn't want to ask that question because he doesn't want to know the answer. But yeah, 8 deaths. Holy shit. This town has suffered 8 deaths and people aren't looking into this harder. Like,
well, they're not looking scientifically.
Yeah. And if you looked into it, all 8 of these people were patients of yours. I'm guessing. I'm doing more research than you're doing. Like, I'm doing better than the cops. All I had to do is be like, wait, where did these kids all come from? The paranormal psychiatric hospital? Oh, fuck.
They're presumably all teenagers, but the nurse, the assistant, the girl is voicing this and saying that she's not happy and she's going to go to someone or whatever. And then the brain pops out and eats her, right? Or kills her.
Yeah. He starts nagging her and then the brain jumps out and just like eats her and they do nothing. Their faces don't change from being like, you don't know what you're talking about, to brain eating her completely, swallowing her whole. And they're just like,
well, presumably they've watched that happen 8 times before. Number 9 doesn't get as big a reaction as the first couple.
I liken it to when you're like meeting people at lunch for the first time and you're like, so where are you from? And the person literally just took a bite and then you're like, sorry. And then everybody just waits for them to finish eating and they're like, and like everybody's just looking at them and they're like, hold on.
Yeah. 1 minute.
Okay. And then like, God, I watched you put that in your mouth the second I asked that question. I'm sorry. That's my fault. It's just zero change. They're just waiting for it to be done. And then it like pops out its cute little face. Is like, no. And they're like, yay. And he says, that's food for thought. And I was like,
awesome. On board for that.
100% on board for that.
So what happens to this douchebag after he crashes Christine?
He crawls it to his girlfriend's like work. She works at a Dairy Queen, it looks like, and he's like, I'm all bleeding, blah blah blah, and everybody's like, oh my god, what happened? And he's like, I just need to talk to you real quick. And he goes in the back and like weird shit's happening. Tentacles are popping out. He's hallucinating some more. He's yelling at his girlfriend like, oh my god, the treatment, blah blah, makes no sense. Her boss pops in and is like, hey, the entire cheerleading team came in. I need your help, guys. Come on now. And it's like, oh my God, you have a bleeding dude who's screaming nonsense. And this is what takes precedence. Sure. All right, fine. I get it. The cop shows up and he's like, hey, I just found your boyfriend's car all flipped over. Doesn't look like a Christine incident. I don't look too hard on that shit. Doesn't look like a psycho brain incident. I'm definitely not looking at that shit. I figured he'd show up here because he's your girlfriend. Because he's your boyfriend. Whatever he is. Wait. So the cop is this good of a detective? He's like, I'm just guessing, going on a lark. Here's a whim. I got a hunch. He went to find his girlfriend. Didn't go to a hospital. Didn't go home. This is what? Wait, what? Anyway, they're like, no, we don't know where he is. And all of a sudden the guy's like screaming in the back because he's hallucinating with tentacles, bursts out of the back room, like spilling over shit, kicking fries over. Everybody who's in this restaurant, it's full of people. We're not told how to react to this at all by the director. So some of them are like shocked and some of them are like, wait, is this still part of it? Are we rolling? What is this?
Is this part of it? Yeah.
like
he's like, isn't he like playing with shit in the lemonade dispenser and shit? Like there's tentacles flipping around in there and he's reacting to that and knocking at that and trying to stab shit and everything.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's going full on hallucination. Now, have you ever seen somebody hallucinating so bad that they flip the fuck out like that?
No.
Once in college, somebody took too many.
When you were a college cheerleader and you went to the diner and a guy who just got Christine, who got brain Christined.
No. I had a buddy. I was the responsible one of our friend group. That's why I was an RA. but I wasn't that responsible. That's why I got fired as an RA.
I was about to blow up your spot, but I'm glad you said it like that. That was funnier. I was like, yeah, I heard some of your RA stories, dude.
And I got a call one day, and it was a friend of a friend, and he was like, hey, he's having trouble at work. We need to go get him. I'm like, what happened? He's like, he ate a whole bag of shrooms like the night before, and he's still tripping hard. And I was like, oh no. And we went to, what was the name of that DVD store down on like the long street where there were all the shops?
Newberry Comics?
No. This was another
Tower?
media store. Tower, yes. So was it Tower Records? Was that the
Tower Records? Yeah.
So they had a big DVD
That was at
section.
the end of Newberry Street, arguably the end.
And we get there, and like there's somebody waiting in the lobby, and we didn't have to introduce ourselves. They knew we were there and who we were there for. And they're like, he's up here. And we get up there, and he's in the corner with DVDs. Like, obviously he was instructed to put them away or catalog them. And he's just like, can't figure out how to put a DVD on the shelf. And it's just like lost in the maze. That's literally like one island. Like it's a square room with an island in the middle, and he's lost in a circle, like babbling wildly, trying to put things in the wrong spot, just holding on to a stack of DVDs. And we're like, hey buddy. And he's just like, blah, 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 incoherent, trying to tell us what's wrong. And you're just like, whoa, didn't catch 2 words of that. That was weird, man. Talking about how everybody's faces are turning wrong. The face, blah, 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 blah. And he tells his side of the story fantastically.
And he worked at Tower?
He worked at Tower. And his boss just said, let's just call it a mulligan. I won't pay him for today, but he still has a job. And we're like, okay. But when he comes back next week, he can't be like this. And we're like, well, let him know. And we get him on the tee and get him back.
And you were like, tell me what that employee discount before I leave.
I know, right? I was like, oh, wait, are you going to put these away? I might actually buy some.
Yeah.
Getting him home was a mess because he's climbing the walls. And from his point of view, he said everybody's heads were turning at the same time, but their faces never looked at me. I was like, that's terrifying. And it's one of the classic moments. If you have a bag of shrooms, you take one and you wait. You don't take more. If you don't feel it, tough shit. That was a bad night. Don't take more. He took more and more and more, and then was like, fuck it, I don't feel anything, and licked the bag, which is notorious. Never do that. So there's your lesson about drugs, kids. Don't just let it ride. He took them all.
We're learning a lot tonight. Okay.
He was just crawling up the walls, terrified, like he was scared.
So are you saying that the brain is an accurate portrayal of drug abuse?
That was like the movie version of it. Like, but yeah, I was like, oh shit, he's seeing it. And
so now after seeing this movie, let me go ahead and put words in your mouth. After seeing this movie, you no longer think he licked a bag of shrooms. You think he was being controlled by a giant brain, a telekinetic brain.
Yeah, that was probably in the basin of 100 Beacon, for sure.
That makes sense. Did his girlfriend work at Target? Because that would be the clincher. Was there a shitload of cheerleaders at Target? Not Target, Tower?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When we walked in, they walked out. I remember. So, yeah, this movie...
You have that effect on cheerleaders.
I'm married a cheerleader. Come on. So, the fucking orderly beast, the orderly comes back, grabs this shithead kid who's tripping balls and takes him back to the research facility. And his friends are like, we got to go save him. And he's there and like escapes through, I don't know, a crazy person lets him out. I don't remember. It's real dumb.
There is a crazy person that like he is sympathetic to for no real reason.
For no reason. And he lets him out of the room for no real reason. And he's chasing people. He goes down into the boiler room. Willie and the girlfriend, Janet, maybe? They sneak into the boiler room from the other way, like outside. They like find a door that lets them in. And they're down there running around, and Willie gets eaten by the brain. And again, everybody just stops and is like, still chewing. Okay.
The girlfriend is Janet. Good job.
All right. Well, yeah. So they just watch Willie get eaten. It's kind of a cool shot. I mean, he gets just swallowed alive. You see the tennis shoes hanging out. Nom, nom, nom. The orderly literally runs up and just stops and like watches this happen. Everybody just like stops and like, oh, hey, brain, you having a snack? Cool. How's he taste? Oh, you're going to have the whole thing? All right. Not going to leave any for us? Okay. Like zero, no emotion. Janet screams a little bit, but then like runs out of breath, and then they just watch it happen. They run out the fucking door that they came in on, and they're driving around trying to escape, being chased by the cops. And, you know, that's crazy, but like nobody reacts properly to this ever. This is where I wrote, it's a Christmas movie, ? Not really.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Because it takes place during Christmas, but Christmas is not part of it's not essential to the movie, right?
No, definitely not. Definitely not a Christmas movie. There are Christmas decorations seen, but there's no Christmas music. There's no point to the plot of it being Christmas. It's just there. Right. They get arrested and they get handcuffed, and the orderly shows up with an axe and like fucking decapitates a cop.
Is this at the high school, or they're like hiding at the school for some reason? And
they're about to get to the high school.
Okay,
this is them.
Oh, that's right, on the side of the road, right?
Yeah,
on the side. Beast decapitates a cop with an axe.
Yeah, it's all right. It's pretty good kill. You know, it literally comes out of nowhere. Right. You're like, wait, what? Why is Beast a murderer all of a sudden? Like, is he been murdering 8 people? And that's why it's not scientifically proven that the brain.
If you watch a giant brain eat a person, chopping a head off with an axe is not as otherworldly as it was yesterday.
I guess when you're implicated in a crime and the crime involves giant mutant brain, yeah, I guess axe murder is just like, I mean, axe
murdering a cop is not that big of a deal.
I'm already going to jail for something. I mean, might as well be axe murdering a cop. The brain thing seems pretty bad, but whatever.
Well, I would love to just see that trial where they're like, Foreman, have you reached a verdict? Yes. In the implicit murder of multiple 8 to 9 people by a giant paranormal brain. How did you find the defendant? Not guilty on absence of evidence of a giant brain. That doesn't make sense. Okay. What about an account of chopping that cop's head off? Oh yeah, he's guilty. There's 2 witnesses. There's a lot of evidence. There was an axe. There was fingerprints. 3 people saw it. Yeah, he's guilty of that. He's like, fuck.
Oh, I made a big mistake. They see the power of the brain and try and like they kind of put 2 and 2 together where they see the principal. Hey, there's that jerk. What does he say? Hey, there's that asshole, whatever his name is, their principal. The wife is watching the TV show, the paranormal, or no, it's like, what is it? It's not paranormal at all. What's it called? This damn show. Independent thinking. She's watching the TV show and the brain's like, tin, 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 tin. They cut to the brain. They cut to the TV show. They cut to the satellite dish. It's beaming it. They cut to her and it's like, if your husband loves you, he'll watch it with you. And she goes outside and she's like watching. He's like, no. Very Canadian. This movie's very Canadian. He's drinking a beer and she's like, please. I said, no. She's like, please. He's like, no. I'm drinking his beer. And she cuts him up with hedge trimmers.
In half, right across his belly.
Just right. And then, again, the kids just stand there and watch it happen.
This movie has some, like, it's the trick where he's buried, like half of him is buried, and they have a fake torso and chest from the waist down. And when that best friend got eaten by the brain, there's just floppy bodies that don't really have the bend of, like, not even close to an anatomy. It's not like the legs look like little stick legs and they're not proportioned the way he should be. Yes. Doesn't matter. It's just, it's like that New Zealand, like the same thing I said before about it being like a fun New Zealand movie where like, it's not good, but it's fun as hell. I just watched you cut your husband in half while the 2 heroes also watched, didn't run away, and also didn't stop it. They just stood there.
And then they make the connection. They're like, oh, the brain's doing that. It's like, wait, what? Okay, well, they figured it out. Let's go hide in the school. Okay, they're not going to look there. That cop literally beelined to the Dairy Queen where your girlfriend worked. They're not going to check the school next. They go to the school. They're hiding out there. He's like, hey, I can get our handcuffs off. They break the chain in the handcuffs, and then the handcuffs mysteriously just disappear from their wrists. Now, I don't know. Anyway, continuity. Yeah. He's like, I'm scared. She's like, I'm scared too. And then she's like, I don't want to wait anymore. And he's like, are you sure? I'm sorry. My best friend's dead. Just watch him get eaten. My principal's dead. Watch him get cut in half. We're being chased by a giant brain monster, and the cops. We're still handcuffed. Have handcuffs around our hands. But okay, let me try to get it up. Oh, hey, that was fast. All right.
Now I get what you're saying, both in jest and in truth. But here's the thing that you're not thinking. This is actually well thought out. You have had sex at least once because you have a daughter. And she looks like you. So I'm pretty sure you had sex once. I'm going to give you a couple more benefit of the doubt fucks and say that you've been around the block a couple of times, the sexual block.
Okay. All right. This track so far.
If you and your girl who you've never done it with were in a place and she suddenly was like, hey, despite all the giant brain shit, let's boogie. You might be like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm 40 years old and I know a thing or two, like not to fuck it in high school when there's a giant brain and institute and cops after you. And you're wanted for murder. Like, aside from all that, you're now very realistically wanted for murder. The thing is, though, cut back to 15 or 16-year-old Aaron or Matt.
Because these guys are supposed outside of that situation. I'd be like, oh shit. Oh yeah. They're like,
these people are supposed to be in high school. Yeah. If I was in high school and the brain was like at the moment eating me, if a semi-attractive girl was like, hey, I'll have sex, I'd be like, okay. Yeah. The brain, luckily the brain is only biting my face off.
I remember times when, like, you know, every school has this moment where the teacher calls some kid and he's like, I don't want to. She's like, get up and go do the math problem at the board. He's like, no. And like at a time you're like, this guy's being look, he's giving her such a hard time. What a badass. And you realize later it's like, no, he just had a raging hard on and couldn't, like, literally was not going to stand up and show everybody what was going on. Like, literally could not control yourself when you were a teenager. So
I was proud of myself. I would raise my hand in those situations.
You're like, ding, it's
nobody
me.
knows what the square root of pi, how that would affect the inverse reaction of the variables. I do. A lot of times I didn't even know the answer.
Knocking everything off.
I would just walk up to the board, knocking people in the back of their head to write some scribble scrabble on the board that had nothing to do with what we were talking about. And I wouldn't use the chalk.
Yeah, so this guy probably has had a boner while watching his friend die. He's like, whoa, fear boner. This is weird.
Yeah, because she leaned close to him because she was scared. And he was like,
yeah, so, okay, I guess you're right. You know what? Good job, Rumi.
It makes sense.
Thanks for talking that through with me. Suddenly, the brain can somehow see through the skeleton that's in their room.
Sure.
And you're like, at this moment, I'm like, guys, I'm almost out. This didn't make sense before, but this really doesn't make sense now. And he wakes up and he did not have sex. Womp womp. And the brain was not looking at him. Womp womp. It was a hallucination. And I was like, thanks, movie. Thank God you fixed that, because I would have been so out if it didn't work. I was already like, no, that teenage boy was obviously 40 years old, cannot get a boner at this point in his, like, so they fixed it. He did not get laid. Thank God, because this guy does not deserve it. But
at this point, he's starting to be, I don't know if he's more likable, but he's doing main character things. He realizes that the brain is controlling. He realizes that they can't go to the cops. Her dad is a cop, right? And he realizes, I think her dad is one of the cops, and he realizes they can't go to the cops because the cops are in on it. The cops, whether they're in on it, or being controlled by the brain, the cops are going to be against them, right? The cops are not going to help.
So the cops find them. They show up and they go, hey, they're inside. Shoot to kill. And I'm like, please, they're white. This is not that. Oh my God. So then he comes in and his girlfriend's watching TV and she's like, whoa, brainwashed. And she's like, you're a murderer. You're a murderer. And he's like, no. And he pushes her through a door that's the fire escape, and alarm starts going off. I hate this in movies. When you do something that sets off an alarm and now for 5 minutes I have to listen to.
Yeah, that's right. I had to lower it. It was like 10 o'clock at night. I was like, oh shit, lower the remote.
Oh my God. I hate scenes in movies where they set off an alarm and it's just like going off. he escapes while this alarm's going off, and you're like, oh, good, he finally got away. And then they cut back to it, and the cop's like, where'd those kids go? I can't hear you, chief. Oh, this alarm's going off. He's like, I can't hear you. This alarm's going off. I know. And so they hop in their cars, and they chase him just as we jump out of the wee-oo of the fire alarm. Now I get a wee-oo of cops chasing him. And now I have 10 minutes of just wee-oo. And I'm like, oh my God, my head is going to explode. Nothing pisses me off more than repetitive sounds in movies that are completely avoidable. You can cut that shit out. You can like lower it. You can put a song over it. You can do anything. I don't need to listen. I get it.
Just do like a quick insert of the director being like, guys, for the next 2 minutes, let's just all assume that the school alarm is still going. Okay. I'm not going to play it, but you know what it sounds like. Pretend that that's there. Okay.
So
time in.
Fucking dumb Jim, he's driving his car and he gets a great idea. He's like, I'm going to pull a Thelma and Louise and make them think that I drove this car off this cliff. So he like puts a rock, wedges a stick on the gas pedal, and like watches this car fly off a huge cliff.
Yeah.
Huge
and you see it.
Fucking cliff.
You see it.
Yeah, it's cool.
And you're like, there you go. That was a budget.
But here's the thing, Matt. If you do that, what is that doing? Essentially, it's buying you time, right?
Mm-hmm.
What does Jim do? Stands there and watches it.
To be fair, though, me at 40 would do that. 16-year-old me? Are you kidding me? If I thought I could jump out of a car clean and let a car fly off a cliff, not only would I do it, I'd have like 4 of my Sony handy cams set up to videotape that from as many angles as I could.
But like the cops come up and they're like, well, I guess that worked. And then they drive away, and he literally watches them do it. And I'm like, all they had to do was turn around and be like, oh, there he is standing in those thin trees over there. There he is. All right. Like he needed to like, don't look, don't watch, just run, dude. And then he's like, I got to stop it. We got to stop the brain. So he goes back into town, I
cannot wait until you are escaping a giant evil brain controlled mental institution aided by corrupt cops who want you for a fake murder or a framed murder. I can't wait to see the stupid thing that you get caught for. Because when I go visit you in prison, I'm like, remember when we did the brain episode, Ruby? And you were like, oh, don't stand there and watch. Just get away clean.
You'll have to wait about a week, man. I can see that happen.
Yeah.
This fucking kid. So he goes back to into the lair of the bad guys, the den of danger, to stop the brain.
To stop it, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And that night is like a big night for the show because it's going to be broadcast nationwide. And he goes to the institute, and we get this editing moment where it's like the brain, the satellite dish, the kid, the brain, the satellite dish, the satellite dish. And they cut to that satellite dish so many fucking times. In my head, I'm just like, I can see this. The editor, the director, and he's like, all right. He's like, cut to the brain. Now cut to the satellite dish. Now cut to the brain. Now cut back to the satellite dish. Now cut to them titties. Now cut to the satellite dish. Like, that's what this, it's just like flash, 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 flash. And the poor editor's like, we're out of satellite dish footage. I said cut to the satellite dish. They cut to it so many fucking times. It's so stupid. It's really stupid.
Satellite dish has its own IMDb page.
Yeah, right here. Played by Rob Reiner. Who knew?
Did the voice of Jubilee. I love the idea that Rob Reiner played both a satellite dish in a 1988 film titled The Brain and also Jubilee from the X-Men cartoon. Did you know?
So inside, the brain's like, he's coming. Blah, blah, blah. And Beast and the doctor are like, we'll get him. We'll get him. I promise you, we won't let anything out. We'll get him. Go get him. And the words that pop up on the screen are, words are the tools of any fool. I want action. And I feel like that's a new mantra for me. When I watch it in a movie and people are talking, I'm like, words are the tools of any fool. I want action.
That's what the brain says, right?
Brain says that. Yeah. I'm going to use that so inappropriately many, many times. Words are the tools of any fool. I want action. Somebody like, that's deep. Where'd you get that? The Brain, 1988. Real shit.
Did you ever see The Brain? Remember at the end on the screen?
So Jim's sneaking around, looking for his girlfriend, looking for the brain. He finds his girlfriend, sees her through a window of a room full of fucking like dismembered corpses. Now, Rumi, if you're setting up a secret lair, are you going to put the dismembered corpses in a room with a window on it?
I mean, I guess I was going to say we have good security, but Jim has now gotten in and out of this place twice. So, no, I guess I'd at least put a curtain on the window, but.
The window to this dismembered body room that his girlfriend's in. Also, you can see that there's a lock on the inside of the door, which is weird because who's locking it from the inside? The dismembered corpses? Like,
well, presumably they bought the Institute and then changed it to their means, right? So they probably installed a lock on the outside. Saw no reason to take. Rumi, this movie is not as far-fetched as you think it is.
They're walking around the first time the realtor's like, and this room you can hold your giant mutant brain, and here you can have a television show, and over here you can keep some dismembered corpses. Guy goes, there's a lock on the inside.
Lock on the inside?
I think you're going to need to take a little bit off, knock a little bit off for that. I don't think that's going to pass muster of the inspection, but, you know, I could see myself putting a few dismembered bodies in. How many do you think I can hold in here? And they're like, I don't know, 20, 30? He's like, I'll take it.
They're like, security-wise, is there a lot of doors? Well, she's like, you get the main entrance and then this little hatch thing on the side under the stairs, but like probably no one will go in there except for like the 3 or 4 times that people go in and out of this random hatch.
Yeah.
That's not secured even after the first time someone gets in it.
No, nobody went back outside to be like, oh, should we put a lock back on this thing? Nah. Nobody knows.
You know all that evil and extraterrestrial type shit we've been doing? Should we fucking lock this place? Listen, their security advisor is like, guys, I'm telling you, you're doing this backwards. You have a lock on the inside of the dismembered bodies room, and then you have 2 unlocked doors. I'm telling you, it's a security risk. The brain's like, rawr, 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 rawr.
So then they cut back to the satellite dish, and we're in the show. And he's like, what a great audience. What a great audience. And they're all like brainwashed, and it's working. He's like, this kid's really sick, and it's a bummer. You know, it doesn't always work, but, you know, we think he's here tonight to get help. And Jim walks on stage. He's like, Jim, you are here to get help. And Jim just cold clocks him in the head like Jason goes to Manhattan and just knocks his fucking head off. And we get a beat just like in the Reanimator where the head's on the floor going, whoa, whoa, whoa. It's full of like green goo. So he's like an alien, I guess.
And then you're like, oh, so the brain is not the only paranormal thing in this. There's something else supernatural. But I guess this movie will explain it to me as the climax continues.
Yeah, we're getting close to the end. I feel it. So
yeah, there's going to be a reveal where Jim is like, the brain is an alien and he created this scientist guy to help him?
No.
Does that scene ever happen?
No. Why? Why? Because we got to get out of that dismembered body room, cut to the fucking satellite dish one more time. And then they try to escape. They're being chased by Beast the Orderly, and the brain is chasing them, and the brain is giant now.
Yeah, it got big.
Got real big.
He gets bigger every time he eats somebody, I guess.
Cute. All right. Well, his cute little face.
I love that you keep using the word cute.
He's got this adorable little button nose and like
listeners, please, listeners, if you haven't done it yet, look up the cover for 1988's The Brain, and just whether you agree with Rumi or not, I just want to make sure we're all thinking about the same. I mean, you don't even have to look it up, Rumi. You're going to put it on our promo art, right?
Oh yeah, you'll see it on our Instagram. You can check
Rumi,
that out.
can you please? I'm going to make this right now, so on air, so that you have to. Can you please make at least one of our promo arts your face and the brain's face making the same face? I want you to do your impression of the brain, and I want you to split screen it. Or comp your face doing that pose, that face over the brain face.
He's
now
so
I want
happy.
both. Now I just want a whole photo brain shoot of you.
He's so
brain
happy.
Photo shoot.
Look how happy he is.
So
Oh, he's so, his little tummy's all full. It's so cute. Look how,
His brain tummy.
Yeah. At one point, it's like, look, his tail got bigger. He's like, that's a spinal cord. And I'm like, yeah, That is.
There's no scientific evidence of his brain tummy.
Something like that. Man, there's some good behind the scenes like pictures online too of them building this big fucking brain face.
And it looks like a giant cartoony thing. Like, but you know what? Who gives a shit? They show it like crazy. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. Every time you see it, shit's getting fucked up or weird. So yeah, you're having fun.
You're having a good time. He eats the beast orderly guy, fucking eats him. Nom, 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 nom. And then he's chasing the kids around and they're like, oh my God, freaking out. And then he finds a thing of sodium, which, from his prank at the beginning, he's like, I know what this does.
Chekhov's cherry bomb.
Chekhov's cherry bomb. He chucks an entire canister of this shit into the giant brain's mouth, and kaboom, kaboom, kabang, Bob's your uncle. The end.
And then he finds evidence that the brain was mutated by toxic waste spill off from the town, right?
No. Wait. No, definitely not.
Does he find out that there was like an ancient Indian burial ground that the Institute was built on and it was a brain?
Nope.
I shouldn't say Indian. I should say Native American. So wait. Where did the brain come? I forget. Where did the brain come from?
He finds a spaceship in the garage of the Institute. Oh,
and
wait.
Ma and Pa come out?
No, that didn't happen either. Nothing happens. He literally just cuts to the next scene. He's like, hey, I got into Princeton. Hooray. I'm fucking jackass. Like, that's the end of the movie. That's it.
Literal no explanation on why any of that happened.
We don't know why the brain is a brain. We don't know where he came from. We don't know if he's a mutant. We don't know if he's an alien. We don't know why the doctor was a alien. He mentions, he's like, this is some alien bullshit happening. That's the only mention of aliens. So we don't even know if it's aliens or if this kid's just full of shit.
And he just says it. He doesn't have nothing led us to think this came from another place.
No, we have no clue. I noticed that inside the brain room, there was some like etchings on the wall, which is kind of an alien thing. There's etchings of brains. But that doesn't make it alien. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So stupid. But man, that brain is cute and super fun. And he ate a bunch of people and I laughed at it. So worth it. It is worth the time. It is worth the time if you have friends to watch with. That is definitely worth the time.
Yeah, that's preferred way, but it's fun. It's a good time. You're not gonna need to like talk about it when you're done, but you'll laugh and you'll have fun and you'll appreciate the effects for the effect's sake. And again, like I gotta say, it feels like a New Zealand film. Just you don't have to suffer the accents. Sorry, Kiwis.
It was Canadian though, so you still get a lot of boots.
I'm okay with the boots.
I'm okay with that booty.
I'm okay with the boots. Did you watch all the way to the end?
What happens at the how far to the end did I need to watch?
The cred, like the secret end, the last what do they call it? Like the Marvel.
So whatever you're about to tell me is probably bullshit, but you could probably get me because I did not watch. So tell me.
No, after they have the credits roll, and when the movie ends, and it says this is just a fake movie or fake work of fiction. Do not throw sodium in fucking lakes.
Yes,
otherwise you'll get mushroom clad. Then there's the credits, and then there's another shot of that satellite dish.
Cut to the satellite dish. Cut to the brain. Cut to them titties. Cut to the satellite dish. It was ridiculous. It was like satellite dish, in memorandum, satellite dish, 1956.
I was totally waiting for the movie to end with like a baby brain, or that there were other institutions that also had brains doing the same thing. And it was just like, nope. We kind of like ran out of gas without explaining anything. The brain blew up, go home.
The girl, him and his girlfriend drive off into like the sunset, I guess, and then like the brain just pops on screen one more time, just like and you're like, oh, okay, but like it doesn't imply that it's alive.
It's not a context. It's just like it's a graphic almost, right?
Yeah, it's literally a jump scare, just
a shot.
Yeah, just to get you. Overall, great though, like super cheesy, real stupid, good enough to like rip into, because
this would be good. This would be great at a screening, don't you think?
I would do it. Yeah, we should do
anyone that went to that screening was going on purpose, right?
Yes. to yell at the screen and have a good time.
Yeah,
I would be so there for that. Absolutely.
Who would you go dressed as?
Willie for sure, man. With my hair all teased up and a little earring, and just be like, that's not all Willie does.
I would go dressed as a topless nurse who was holding a baseball and a bat. I would cut a baseball and an apple in half and then meld them, so I could be the topless assistant in the trials doing the apple and the baseball switcheroos.
That's
with the juggy jugs.
That's fucking hysterical, dude. I like that. That's a good one.
Or the guy's head on the floor. That'd be cool if you just took like a chunk of linoleum and wrapped it around yourself like a collar.
Yeah.
Put green blood all over the place.
So nobody knows what's going on until you like get that perfect angle. And everybody goes, oh.
Yeah.
In Walking Dead, there's a whole thing about people's heads on spikes. That's a big deal. Yeah. And one of the best Comic-Con costumes I ever saw is the year that we went and Walking Dead had a really big presence, and the design that I designed was like everywhere. Somebody had like a sandwich board with a hole cut in it, and it was like a bloody spike. So when you put your head through the sandwich board, it was your head on the spike. I was like, that's cool. Is clever. Good job.
That's good thinking.
Yeah, that was cool. So yeah, I had a good time. It was more fun to talk about it with you than to watch it by myself. For sure.
This is exactly the movie that I'd want to watch with you. I was thinking about that while preparing for the episode. I was like, this would be a movie that when we lived together, if one of us started watching it without the other one, we would have stopped it and been like, dude, you got to watch this. We got to watch this movie tonight. I found us a movie. This is going to be the one.
Yeah. No, it was definitely a good one. Definitely a good one. I've had a pretty good run of watching movies that have been recommended to me and having a good time with it. I watched this. I watched Wolf Cop. Homie Lee, he recommended Mad Monkey Kung Fu, which I happened to own and just had never watched. And I watched that. That was fun. Had a good run of recommended films. So very fun.
I have like 30 minutes left of a movie on Hulu that's called like Vengeance or Avenge or like Redemption. It's just some generic bullshit. And I knew it was going to be, but I did not realize how generic it was going to be. It's Death Sentence with Kevin Bacon, which really is just Death Wish or any other fucking movie, right? But it is Death Sentence scene for scene, let alone plot point for plot point. But like he gets super hurt and killed. Like the guy loses his family to a gang headed by a Bruce Willis who does not want to be there. And it looks like he was like, listen, I'll give you 4 days of filming for $2 million.
Wait,
that's me showing up.
Bruce Willis?
Yes. That's me showing up on set, reading the script. If you want me to act, it's going to be another $4 million. And they're like, no, we'll settle for you just reading the script. And it literally, everything he says sounds like he's reading it. Like it's like it sounds like he practiced the lines. It sounds like you're watching him practice the lines in his hotel room. That's what it sounds like and looks like. God, he's not even trying.
No, it's not fair. I know he's sick and he's like, I'm not going to act anymore. But like, dude, you should have quit a long time ago because it's been very apparent that your heart hasn't been in it for years.
No, I think he read the script of Vengeance or Avenge or Fortnite or whatever the fuck I'm calling it. And he was like, no, this needs to be my swan song. I'm going to stand here and yell at this boy who's supposed to be my son and say, should have been you. Yeah, get out of here, you junkie. I'm like, Bruce, can we take that again a little louder? And Bruce Willis looked over and was like, no. And they were like, all right, cut and Prince. Great.
Jesus. I think since Cop Out, it's just been like that. Just, Jesus.
That was the last one before we dropped off was Cop Out?
No. That's when it dropped off.
Oh, got it. That's one of that's one of the few movies in my entire life that I turned off. I watched like the first 15, 20 minutes and was like, sorry, I don't have the time for that.
Kevin Smith directed that one. He said it was one of the worst experiences he ever had making a movie. And like, he loves making movies. That's his whole life. He loves making movies. He has so much fun doing it. That's all he wants to do. He's like, I thought about quitting the industry, making that movie. And then he was like, my next film, though, I was looking for a couple $1 million to make Red State. And somebody was like, oh, you made that movie, Bruce Willis. Anybody who makes a movie, Bruce Willis can get money from me. And you're like, wait, what? Is that all it takes? Bruce Willis, you can come read this script for me and I'll get some money. Yeah. And he got the money because somebody was just like, oh, yeah, you made that movie? Cool. And he's like, did you watch that movie? Like, no. Yeah. No, but yeah, Bruce Willis. Yeah, here's the money.
So director of Vengeance or Revenge or Fortnite or Redemption or whatever I said, if you're listening, go get that Bruce Willis money.
Go get that Bruce Willis bump.
That Bruce Willis alumni fund.
I think it'd be funny to do an episode where we just talk about movies that, I guess it's cliche, but movies that are so, like, it's hard to do now. Like, I always bring up the example of, like, Exorcist films. The movies about exorcisms and possession, The Exorcist did it so well, everything has just been a ripoff.
Pretty much anything after Y.
Yeah, exactly.
That makes sense.
Vengeance movies are very hard to do because they've all been done. What a tired genre. Like, Taken.
I feel like Taken was a high point. John Wick was a high point in recent years, the contemporary version of that. But you don't have to look at a horror movie. How many slashers have you seen? The slasher has been done and it's already been done right. You just need a killer slashing, and that's it, right? You want to have people on screen that you want to get killed. You want to have some TNA. You want to have some silly situations and good deaths. A revenge movie, you need a good thing at the beginning to kick it off, right? A catalyst to get the revenging going. And you need kick-ass scenes. That's it.
Words are the tool of any fool. I need action, right?
This movie that I'm watching has actually 2 montages of him learning to walk, getting in shape, doing push-ups and shit. And you're like, I've already seen this so many times. Vengeance or whatever the fuck this movie is. It wasn't Vengeance, but it's some generic bullshit like that. You don't need to show me every step of the montage because I've already seen montages on montages. Just show me that he can't walk. Show me him on the bars and then show me walking. I'll fill in the gaps. Let's all save each other 7 minutes, right?
Right. But because people have seen so many montages of the dude getting better, this is what they think it takes.
Right.
And at one point, that is exactly what it took. But now, yeah, you don't need any of that shit. It's tough. It's been ruined by all those who have come before you. And now you either have to do it different or just accept what it is. And it's like, but I will take a ripoff of a Friday the 13th any day because that even though you're like, yeah, that's formulaic, I'm here for it. I don't need to see a guy
I would be here for this if it was like, that's the thing. The training, I'd sit through it. But so far, it's an hour and a half movie. I have 30 minutes left. There's been no revenging yet. You took way too long to set up the multiple stage deaths because the daughter gets killed first. Then a lot of scenes happen, and then the wife gets revenge murdered. So it's like we all could have died at the same time, and we could have gotten ready now. I haven't seen a revenge yet. I got 30 minutes left in the movie. Even if he revenges the whole time, and I don't think he's going to.
So in the DVD commentary of that movie, the director says that Bruce Willis was going to help with more revenging, but he said no. And so they had to just fill the time.
I want to see a fight scene with Bruce Willis not giving a fuck. Like it's just a little bit of pushing and it looks fake.
You want to see a Steven Seagal movie then?
Yeah. Steven Seagal's movies are fun because most of his hand-to-hand combat, it just looks like slapping. It's like a badass version of like.
I've worked on 2 of them, and that was the joke. Is like he just flails around, and the stuntmen expertly fly out of the way as if they were hit. That's the stuntman. He's just like.
Did you ever watch his quote unquote reality show?
I will never watch anything he does on purpose.
Lawman was worth it.
No, because he's a fucking horrible person.
Is he? What does he do?
Kidnaps women.
Did he?
Yes, that's why he's not in this country.
Is that true? I don't know anything about that.
Actually, look, I don't want to be sued for libel on a guy that I already dislike.
Oh God, Steven Seagal, please sue us. That would be so great. Sue Rumi, though. I didn't say it.
I think that's why he got fired from his cop show. is because he got in trouble for holding somebody against their will. If I seem to recall that correctly. But again, I may be mixing him up with some other celebrity cop.
Watch it online so he doesn't get any money, so you don't have to feel guilty. But that cop show is great.
Ugh.
It was really just the same episode over and over again. The same culturally insensitive, him pretending to be a real cop, but fooling anybody. And also just minority after minority saying, oh man, Steven Seagal, my mama loves you.
Oh God. Yeah. Okay. Good. Yes, I was correct. He was accused of keeping a woman as a captive sex toy in Lafayette lawsuit. Yep. There we go. It's alleged.
It's a legend. Is that what you said?
Yeah, alleged. I don't see
alleged. I thought you said it's a legend.
No, alleged.
You know what some motherfucker needs to do? Someone like Jean-Claude Van Damme needs to make a movie where Jean-Claude Van Damme has to confront and fight Steven Seagal over that incident. Can you imagine like Jean-Claude Van Damme? The movie opens with Jean-Claude Van Damme on the phone with Schwarzenegger, and they're like, yeah, this movie's going to be great. And then Schwarzenegger's like, wait a minute. No, he had that Lafayette sex slave thing. And Jean-Claude is like, what? Maybe I'll play Jean-Claude Van Damme. I'm like, what? And then he was like, listen, Jean-Claude, he's wanted for kidnapping and sex nonsense. And then Jean-Claude Van Damme said, Steven Seagal? Schwarzenegger's like, yeah, man, call Stallone. He knows all about it. So Jean-Claude calls Steven Seagal. I mean, calls Sly Stallone. That could be you. And you're like, yeah, you had it chained up like a sex slave.
I already did Rocky 4. I don't want to do that Rocky again. I already did all the Rockies. I want to do the other thing. I'm doing the thing with the Rambo. Oh.
So then Jean-Claude Van Damme is like, this can't stand. I have to find out. And the more he researches into it, he sees that there's this whole thing, and Steven Seagal can be the heavy. And whether you actually get Steven Seagal or not doesn't even matter. But how fucking cool would that be to have that? And have them all like, it's not Jean-Claude Van Damme playing a guy named Stryker. It's Jean-Claude Van Damme is
just like in JCVD when he played John.
Yes.
Yeah, he's in several movies where he plays himself. But here's what would happen with that, Rumi. We are going way over on this tangent. I love it. All right. Anyway, I'd be like this: Jean-Claude Van Damme. You're Jean-Claude Van Damme. You have to answer the phone. Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yes.
I don't think we should do this very much because, you know, what people start looking at the stuff we've done. I don't think we have the shining record either. I think if you look in our closets, there's plenty of skeletons. Right? You know, with the Rocky 5.
And then Jean-Claude Van Damme goes, then who will I have to help me? And then he goes, I know. And he picks up the phone and dials. And then in the middle of a battle, fucking Dennis Rodman walks in. Did you ever see that movie? I think it was called Double Team.
I had to turn it off. It made no sense to me. Like
I saw it in theaters with my dad. That movie's fucking bonkers.
It's bonkers. I've tried to watch it twice and I can't follow it. The plot is nonsense.
After we just spent an hour talking about the brains plot.
I can't get to the action scenes because there's too much exposition that makes no sense. You're like, wait, who is he? Dennis Rodman sells weapons? And it's like, it's just this vehicle that's like a Coke nightmare of Dennis Rodman being like, and then I'm going to do this. And I think it'd be cool if my character was like totally ambiguously like, is he like some sort of sex monster? Does he, you know, like what's going on? And you're like, what is this? And they both chew up the scenes so hard, the plot doesn't get through. And you're just like, they're like a sniper's coming and the sniping at the fair, but like I can't tell you who the sniper's trying to kill, why he's a bad guy. I can't follow the plot, so I don't know what's happening.
12-year-old Matt, not concerned.
I love Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. I actually legitimately, I think some of his movies are more fun than most of Stallone's films. Like in my pantheon of like 80s action stars, like I think Schwarzenegger's way up there at the top. And I think Jean-Claude Van Damme is pretty close for me because he had an earnest, like good guy image that I loved.
Yeah. That's true.
There's one, what was the name of this one? The one where him and Rob Schneider as a douchebag teamed up and they're like trying to take down counterfeiting bad guys. The movie's absolutely bonkers. Rob Schneider plays this total douchebag. He's like the douchebag with the video camera from Final Destination 3, who you're like, please die. Please.
Yeah, Shelley. He's the Shelley of that movie.
He's the Shelley. Yeah. Like every time there's a chick, he's like, what? Like checking out her butt. And you're like, God damn it. Like just every time. He's such a gross horn dog in that movie. Probably, I don't know. Maybe that's how he is.
So Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dennis Rodman are like against the ropes, and they look at each other and they're like, we need more help. Dennis Rodman goes, I know who we can call. No, Jean-Claude Van Damme goes, I know who we can call now. Rob Schneider snows up. That'd be awesome to watch his like 58-year-old ass playing the same character, right?
The problem is it's like them going after somebody who is potentially kidnapped somebody. It's like, yeah, don't shine a flashlight. I think Jean-Claude Van Damme's the cleanest out of all these guys. I think the only thing that ever happened to him is he got beat up by his bodyguard once. I think literally everyone else has something that you're like, like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger, some kid from brother from another mother, some kid.
See, what I would do is I would capitalize on that, and each hero ends up using that to their advantage. Like that kid, Schwarzenegger's illegitimate kid, helps save them in the hour of need. Right?
fucking badass, man. All right, I'm on board. It's like Expendables, but like the cancelables.
Well, yeah, like I'm trying to think of what you call it. The uninsurables or something like that.
Yeah. Oh my God. Really bad.
I'd watch that. Jean-Claude Van Damme, call us.
I love Jean-Claude Van Damme in most
right, cut to right now. Jean-Claude Van Damme is like, the line is busy, and Steven Seagal's calling us. He's like, you motherfuckers, you can't libel me like that.
I got a call from Steven Seagal's lawyers and a bunch of missed calls from France. I love JCVD. Have you seen that one? Where that one's great.
Is that that's the show or that's the movie, right?
There was a show and one movie. Like it was a standalone movie, and then they turned it into a show. And
were they called the same thing?
Yeah, I think so. JCVD.
I don't think they were. I think the show is about him also being an agent, a secret agent. The movie was about him who happens to get tripped up into an adventure. And
they're like, just use your karate and stuff. He's like, look, I'm not like a superhero. I know karate, like I'm a kickboxer, but I'm not the guy you think.
Both of them were great. There were different tones, though. The show was kind of funny and tongue in cheek at times.
Yes. And
the movie was not. I think the movie was serious.
The movie was melancholy, and you're like, oh, he's like, he's seeing the end of his career. Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. But he's not. I love the one where it's him and his fake twin brother.
Yeah. Double team. No. Double team.
Yeah.
It's Double Team.
I forget.
That movie was fucking cool.
I forget the names.
You got the karate one, and you got the shooting one. That movie was fucking awesome.
And then the one where he has the most amazing mullet ever, directed by John Woo, Hard Target. Fuck yeah, bro.
Time Cop. We saw in the theaters as a family, and there's a topless scene right at the beginning, and I remember that being one of the forever uncomfortable moments of watching a movie with my family, is seeing that girl's boobs with my parents in the theaters.
Oh yeah, I could see that. I love Time Cop's great.
I haven't seen it forever. We should do a Time Cop episode.
Is it Time Cop or is it Demolition Man? One of them is Stallone.
Demolition Man is Sly Stallone, and it's got Wesley Snipes.
Yes. And this one is...
Time Cop is Jean-Claude Van Damme, and I don't remember anything about it.
It doesn't have... Shit. Okay.
Time Cop, I think, is a future cop that comes back to present day. Right. Demolition Man is a present day cop who gets frozen and wakes up in the future. Demolition Man is fucking fantastic.
Only one of them has Rob Schneider in it. He doesn't know about the seashells.
So I think what you're saying is like Schwarzenegger is the top, then it's Jean-Claude Van Damme, and then like 5 or 6 down is Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider, yeah. Actually, Sandra Bullock's above him. Just saying.
She trumps him, right?
Yeah, big time. I love Sandra Bullock in action films. She's great.
I agree. She's annoying in Demolition Man, but she's supposed to be. But she's good. Like she could play a kick-ass character.
She does. She's great. We could go on and on, dude.
Armor, hot dogs. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, we did. That's a big tangent. Hey, audience, we owe you 17 minutes. Sorry.
Because I was about to transition to a whole thing about Speed, the movie that makes you believe that a bus can fly, but we're not. Well, that's a different episode. Guys, tell us what tangent you like to hear most.
If this doesn't play, Rumi, in editing, just keep intercutting shots of a satellite dish.
Satellite dish. Cut a satellite dish. We need more satellite dish. You didn't shoot anymore. I'll go shoot more tomorrow. Cut to them titties.
Love it. Love it.
Follow us on social media.
I think we all learned a lot. No, I think we all learned a lot here tonight. Also, I was going to make a joke at the beginning of the show, the top of the show, saying the brain. Oh, no, I watched a movie called Brian, but I didn't. And I want credit for it. I was like, oh, there's no place for this joke. And I was like, oh, I'll just throw it on at the end. So, boom. Point for me. I interrupted our own tag to put that joke on there.
Well, and now you're making it even worse because now I actually have to IMDb what movie you would have been like accidentally have seen.
I already looked. It wasn't worth it. I was hoping it would be a movie that like would be of reference, but it's not.
Oh, that's fine. Anyway, follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at LaunchpadPod, and our website, launchpadpod.com. It is one of my favorite jokes that we do. Oh, we were supposed to watch this. I watched Malignant. I watched Maleficent.
We do have a couple of them.
Follow us on our social media. Like and subscribe. Watch us on YouTube. See us crack up. That's all good. Let us know. What should we be watching? Maybe we'll talk about it on the podcast. We love recommendations from our listeners. We do appreciate you guys. Rumi, let's blast this thing off.
Hope we get a ton of Rob Schneider suggestions. Can we brain blast? Can we brain blast it off? But
we're the Rocketeers, and we are out. You get an extra long episode with that bonus.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I feel like we kind of spun way off of center, but I like similar to the brain. I had fun. It wasn't a good episode, but I had fun.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine